Merry Christmas. That's right. We are on the air live for this Christmas Eve 2025. I'm your host, Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning in. And it shows you what kind of life I have. But no, this is what I love to do. And that's why I'm doing it no matter what the day, no matter what the night. And I think this is a great time to air this video because I don't have a whole lot of competition. Anyway, thanks for joining us here live. If you have any questions or comments during the live broadcast, if you are watching live, you can do that. Ask me anything you like. We're going to go through all the bowl games that will be taking place following Christmas. There's a bowl game that will be kicking off in a few minutes between Hawaii and California. We talked about that game on our previous bowl video. You could check that out. Not that I could see why you would want to, because it's pretty old stuff. Those games we handicapped and talked about 10 days ago, a week ago, when we started the bowl season. And the good news is coming in, we're hot because we hit one of our upset plays, Ohio, pulling up the upset over UNLV last night. So that's good news. And of course, we've got the playoffs that we're going to be talking about as well in the next couple of days. So that's not what we're going to discuss on this show. Not sure when we're going to do the college football playoff video. And since the games will take place still, we got about a week for, we got a same setup with the playoff games. I think we have a New Year's Eve game, and then that'll be followed by the New Year's Day games, the playoff games. So I'm pretty sure that's how it's all set up. Let's see. So that means Wednesday will be a 7:30 start time, which will be a week from today. That'll be on New Year's Eve. That'll be what I think would be the best game, Miami and Ohio State. And then we'll have the three games pretty much in order, starting at 12 o'clock. I think it's 12, 4, and 8, is it? 12, 4, and 8. And that'll be Texas Tech, Oregon, Indiana, Alabama, and Georgia against Ole Miss on New Year's Day. So that's coming up next week. So chances are we'll probably do a playoff preview, an updated preview of the quarterfinals coming up on Monday, I would guess. So you could check that out. Also, I know it's Christmas, but since the games are tomorrow, even though in the NFL there's really only one game that matters, and that's the game between Detroit and Minnesota. That actually the Denver game matters too. That's later. That's the later game. So what I'm thinking of doing is coming on the air at some point tomorrow early, maybe early afternoon before the Lions-Minnesota game, because what we're going to do is I'm going to do a playoff video. And this is important because the NFL playoff video is going to be very important when it comes to giving you guys the information that you need to go over things like, okay, well, if this team if Team A beats Team B on a Thursday game, then what happens to Team A? How are their chances change as far as the wild card or division? Like, for instance, the Detroit Lions. Just given just a quick example there. If the Lions lose, that'll open things up. Matter of fact, I can give you a sneak peek for that because this is a good example. So Detroit can still clinch a wild card berth if with 2 wins, and Green Bay's got to have a couple of losses. I get all that. Okay. But as far as for Green Bay's perspective, okay, their game is going to take place on Saturday. All right. So you got a Saturday night game, the Packers hosting Baltimore. And Thursday, tomorrow at 4:30 is the Lions game. So for Green Bay, this is their situation. They clinch a wild card if Detroit loses on Thursday. And that is definitely important, meaning the game against Baltimore on Saturday wouldn't be as important for the Packers. They could still win let me see what their situation is with the North. And again, like I said, we're going over this tomorrow. So I wasn't really prepared to go I didn't have all of my notes for that. But the fact is that that's the biggest thing to take into that, just as an example. I won't go into it because if you want to know more about it, tune in tomorrow. So again, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through all these scenarios. I'm going to have every single playoff scenario that you need to know and be involved with regarding the NFL playoffs that with the games for week number 17 that start tomorrow. The Dallas-Washington game has no ramifications, so that's the early game, so that's no big deal. But we'll be on the air before the 4:30 Detroit game and get you updated on everything that matters for all of the teams that are either, they're vying for. We still don't even know who the number one seed is in each conference. So I'm going to go through all of those scenarios. I'm going to go over the scenarios where we only have 2 spots available in the AFC and in the NFC, so 4 total. We'll talk about number one possibilities in each conference, and that's big because it's only 1 bye now for each team. We're going to go over with the 2 wildcard spots that remain, the 2 division spots that remain, and all of that on tomorrow's show. Okay, let's talk some college football. And let's get into the games right away. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up, let's see, the game, and this is on the 26th, Central Michigan and Northwestern. It's a 1:00 game. This will take place on Friday afternoon. Northwestern, the line is now at 10.5. I'm not sure why it dropped from 12.5. I'm big on Northwestern here because they're just clearly a much better team than Central Michigan. The MAC, there's no competition. The only way I see this game being close is if Northwestern, if they're not motivated, and I just don't look at Northwestern that way. I don't think they're that type of program. I think everything is important for them at this stage of their development, including the fact that they're playing a game that they definitely should win, and they don't want to be embarrassed to lose. And look, winning a bowl game is still something that a lot of players on these teams that are not going to be superstars, that are not going to be rich, this is something that's important. So I think, and with that Northwestern team, it's probably about 95% of the players, so I think it matters just as much to them as it will to Central Michigan. Northwestern, meanwhile, check this out. They've won 5 straight bowls, covering 4 of their last 5, while Central Michigan is just 1-4 straight up ATS in their last 5 bowl games. And the Big Ten is 5-0 straight up, 3-1-1 against the spread in the last 5 bowls against MAC teams. Let's move on to the next one. And that is going to be the Rate Bowl. And are they going to make me go through this each time? Let's see. Where are we? Hopefully not. Let me set it up. There it is. Is that the Rate? No, that's not the Rate Bowl. Where's the Rate? Hey, here it is. Okay. So the Rate Bowl is going to be at 4:30 on Friday. And wow, who would have thought New Mexico would be 9-3? I still think New Mexico got robbed out of playing for the Mountain West Conference Championship. That's just ridiculous. And that's what you get to look forward to when you're thinking about tiebreakers for who gets to play in conference championships. So, hey, if you want the computers to decide that, then there you go. You get Boise State and UNLV for a 3rd straight year. How'd that pan out? All right. So taking a look at this one, Minnesota, that line has dropped from 3 down to 1.5. Once again, I'm not sure why. The Big Ten, I don't know why I don't know. Look, I don't mind if the odds are the way they are when they come out, but when I see the odds change against the Big Ten, meaning the money, people are putting money against the Big Ten when these bowls begin, that surprises me. And it surprises me not because I think the Big Ten's had a good year, because I think this has not been a great year for the Big Ten. Mostly from the middle down. Now, of course, you got the top teams. That's completely different. Ohio State and Indiana could play for the national championship, and nobody would be surprised. Matter of fact, they're the 2 favorites. So that's not it. It's the depth of the conference with all the teams, and it just hasn't been as strong, nowhere near as competitive as the SEC. So we know that going in. What surprises me is that money, at least on these first 2 games, have gone away from the Big Ten. So that does surprise me a little bit. Look, I like New Mexico. We've talked about them even before the season began. Their coach was coach of the year, 1st-year coach. That's great to see for that program. They're also 7-4 ATS on the season. That's nice. And they're not playing a New Mexico Bowl for the first time since 2004. And that's significant because, the New Mexico, and I even mentioned this when we were going over the bowls a couple of weeks ago, like, why isn't New Mexico in the New Mexico Bowl? That's how you sell tickets. But for New Mexico, they're looking at it as, well, we're not interested in selling tickets. We're interested in getting to the best possible bowl we can be in. And because we're 9-3, and we're probably the best team that did not go to a Mountain West Conference title game, well, we get a better bowl. And that's what happened. So good for them. And that just shows you that they are moving up. That's a good thing. But for Minnesota, keep in mind, they ended the season pretty strong. I know it's only a couple of games, but still, they covered the last two, and they did not go away. They had the win over Wisconsin as well when they started playing their best football of the year. And this is significant. PJ Fleck, in his 6 years coaching Minnesota in bowls, has never lost. He's 6-0 all time. Minnesota has won 8 straight bowl games. I think all that matters. I think what matters more is PJ Fleck's 6-0 mark. That's not a coincidence. That isn't. See, there are reasons sometimes, and if you want to hear a good debate or good taking sides one way or another on a topic, when two people debate a topic and both sides are, you understand them from their perspective, check out the show that Jim and I did on Friday. We talked about the Packers and the Bears game. Probably went off in about a 20-minute, rant. And we had this discussion about the differences between looking at historical trends that I think, in my opinion, because I use them a lot, Jim doesn't use them at all, basically. And we both have a reason why we either like them or don't need them. And so this is the same thing, because I would say on one hand, yeah, I think some historical trends don't matter. And I often talk about that whenever I pop out Mark's magazine, which I know it's too late to get it this year, but you can make sure you get this, pre-order it for 2026. You don't want to miss it for 2026. There's, I don't know, probably half of the trends that are in there I don't really look at. Somebody else might like them, but for me personally, I think there are some trends that I like. I agree with people who would say like Jim or anyone else that say, yeah, there are some trends. I mean, I don't even who cares what happened in 2021? What did it have to do with 2025 team? That sort of thing. Now, in this debate or in this context, the reason why I think it matters is, yes, it's a different team, and even in 2024, 2023, 2022, and so on, in the 6 years that PJ Fleck won. Absolutely, they're all different teams. And I think even somebody might just say, what does that matter? Well, these are the ones that, in my opinion, matter, because what it says is that PJ Fleck knows how to get his team ready for a bowl game. And this isn't just the next week's game. Hey, PJ Fleck is undefeated in week 11 games. Even though, check this out, even though I know this is a long time ago that we talked about this season, earlier in the season. So Texas A&M, remember this one? I'm sure you don't. Texas, and this will be in the magazine again next year. All right. So remember, we had this talk about this when we do it again in September of 2026. The Texas A&M Aggies are now 12-0 outright in Game 3 of the season. So they were 11-0 outright, and so that's where I think it's very interesting. Because you could say it's a coincidence. I don't know, maybe, probably, but that would have been the perfect time for Texas A&M to lose. All right. Oh, come on. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you're probably right. You'll see. It's Notre Dame at Notre, because you probably can go, oh, who'd they play? Florida A&M on week 3, and they play all the FCS teams and all that. All right, well, you're right. It's at Notre Dame. Well, no, they beat Notre Dame. So anyway, this to me matters more. So PJ Fleck does a great job of getting his team ready for bowls, and I think that does matter. And even though you look and see that Minnesota's just 3-7-1 against the spread this season, remember, they've covered their last 2. So they were 7-1. And I don't really think this matters too much, historically speaking, regarding a trend. But this is something that is there. And that in the Rate Bowl, I don't even know what it was 7 years ago, but whatever it was 7 years ago, or the last 8 years. The favorite in this bowl game has covered 7 of 8 games. Okay, so there you go. I think it should be it's one of those games where I think most college football fans will be rooting for New Mexico, and why wouldn't they? Who cares to root for Minnesota unless you're a Minnesota fan? Oh, you got to bet on the game. I would put a bet on Minnesota, but it's a game I'm probably just not going to spend money on myself, just because, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see New Mexico win. I mean, who really does care about Minnesota, right? But I just think a Big Ten team only, I mean, you're almost in a pick 'em, and you should definitely take the money line. As you see right here, it's 1.5. You're getting a money line of minus 108. No, it's minus 118 on the money line. So you definitely grab the money line if you're going to take Minnesota and go that route. All right, next up. And they're going to make me do this all over again. What does this mean by full scoreboard? Let's see. Maybe this will be easier so I don't have to do that. All right, maybe I could do this. This would be quicker. Okay, next up. Let's go to, I'll just leave it here. Okay, I got the spread. Florida International, Texas San Antonio in the first responder bowl, the Serve Pro first responder bowl. And you see there, UTSA is now down to a 5.5 point favorite. They were 8 last week. So some things to keep an eye on here. This is a game that is being played where SMU plays their games during the regular season, Dallas, Texas. And so that should help a little bit more for the Miners, the Roadrunners, who only, I think they are about less than 300 miles from the stadium to the campus. So that'll help them with a little bit more of a home field advantage. You have first-year coach Willie Simmons for FIU going up against Jeff Traylor, who has done a fantastic job for the Roadrunners. Taking a look, look here for the Roadrunners. They are in their 6th straight bowl under Jeff Traylor. And they've won their last 2 bowl games by a 79-32 margin. They were heavy favorites in that one, double-digit favorites in those games. Here, they're 6, again, down, 5.5 down from 8. So this is the 3rd straight game that I'm taking the team, or I like the team and still like the team, where the money is going down and away from, which is great. So it works to my benefit. I'm not sure why this is going away either, even though 8 maybe it was too high. I mean, I can get it. FIU's been hot. They went 4 straight up and against the spread coming in. They also beat Jacksonville State and Liberty during that stretch. And those are 2 of the better teams in the Conference USA. And they've done it with multiple quarterbacks. So I think if you look at that, you want to know who's going to, don't worry about it. Either quarterback is fine. I don't really see a big difference there. Check this out. History. Speaking of history, all right. The history of this bowl, the favorite has won 14 all time. Okay. So the favorite has never lost a bowl game. The first responder, never. And as far as the odds, 8-4-1 against the spread. So that does favor my pick, UTSA. So I'm happy about that. Now, let's get to why you're here. I think, or I would guess, this is why you're here, because you want to know about the coaching changes, the player opt-out, injuries, things of that nature. So this is the first game where we've got something there that really sticks out. For FIU, not a very good pass defensive team. Keep that in mind. And their top corner, Mr. Clark, you got to love that name. Mr. Clark is transferring. So he's opting out. He's going to play for another program, it looks like, next season. He led the team with 13 pass defense and 3 interceptions. They are also going to be without defensive backs Victor Evans and Josiah McGrew. McGrew, 68 tackles this season. Evans, 42 tackles this season. 3 of their best defensive backs from a pass defense that ranked 116th in the country, something like that, going up against Josh McCown's little kid. And McCown, I think we talked about him plenty on this program. Let me see if we can pop up his overall numbers. Now his numbers are a lot better at home. There's no question about that. That was the thing that really did stick out when we went over their games late in the season. All right, so check out Owen McCown here. We can even pop up. Now give me the game logs. Okay, so move this in. And you can see some of these games here. Let's see. Let's move them right about here. All right. So these were Colorado. Yeah, these were probably more even out. So let's see. Yeah, we could probably keep that. Anyway, so here were some of his best games. He had a 236, 3 touchdown, no interception game. Look at the Tulane game. Now, this is a team, Tulane, who just played a playoff game a couple of days ago. And he was 31 of 33 for 370, 4 touchdowns, no picks. East Carolina, one of the better teams in the American this year. Check this out. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. So you can see all the numbers here. In other words, excellent season for Owen McCown. And now he's going up against a pass defense that can't stop anybody without 3 of their best pass defenders. Let's see. As far as I will give you, I'll tell you what, let's leave you with one trend that does help FIU. Conference USA bowlers are 3-0 straight up and against the spread versus American bowlers. All right. So if you take that for what it's worth, I think that matters a little bit. But I'm just looking at a team that I expect to put up big numbers in this game. Look at the total at 59.5. So I would be surprised if Texas San Antonio, this is again going to be played in Dallas, Texas outdoors. So yeah, check the weather. That'll definitely matter. I mean, you never know. Check the weather. If it's going to rain, that could be that could definitely be a big knock on what you're looking for to Texas San Antonio. Obviously, if you're taking them and you're going the over, you want the best conditions possible. You want it to be, I mean, look at this, the weather, 75 degrees. It's Dallas, Texas. It should be fine unless it's raining. But check it out anyway. And I would expect, again, I'm not a total guy, but I would expect that this is going to be, I mean, if UTSA doesn't score over 40, I'd be surprised. But where do you see FIU scoring? So I'd go with the over if it was me. But like I said, I'm not a total guy, so don't use me as an expert there. I'm not an expert handicapper either, as you know or you should know. I'll leave that up to Jim Feist and Mark Lawrence. Let's now move on to the next game. That's it for Friday's game. So we're going to start with a full slate on Saturday with this is the Go Bowling Military Bowl, and this is in Annapolis. So another situation where we would see like Navy if they were 6-6 or 7-5, but it's not the case. Navy's having an excellent year, just like New Mexico. So they go to a better bowl, and that leaves Pittsburgh and East Carolina to duke it out. Interesting that East Carolina played in this bowl game last year against another ACC team and beat North Carolina State. Now, that was a bigger game because it was more of a little brother beating big brother situation, and they pulled off the upset as a 7-point dog. And I liked them, and I picked them, and I made money on the money line last year. But I'm not doing it this year. I'm going all out on Pitt. I think this should be one of the top plays of the bowl season at this point. If you take a look here, yes. Is Desmond Reed out? Yes, that's a big loss for Pitt. It also looks like they're going to be without their number 2 tackler, Kyle Lewis, who is going to opt out for the NFL, getting ready for the NFL. And edge Jimmy Scott injured in the final game of the regular season. So no word on whether he's going to play. So keep an eye on that. Those potentially some, significant losses. But there's way too many losses on East Carolina's side. They lost their starting offensive tackle. They lost their coordinators, both of them, offense and defense. So that means they're not coaching. Okay, they're out. They're gone. They're going to have interim coordinators. Their number one running back, Landon Montgomery, gone, not playing. And he has 742 rushing. The next guy, I think, has, I don't even know if the next guy has more than 200. Also, even bigger, quarterback, Caden Hauser, gone, opts out. He's going to transfer. And he was a major reason why East Carolina had a team that was, they were pretty close last couple of weeks of the season. They had a shot at playing for the American Championship. This is a quarterback that threw for 275 a game, 3,300 yards on the season. He's out. Also, number 2 wide receiver, Yannick Smith, out. Number 2 tight end, Connor, out. Matter of fact, the tight end, even though it was number 2, actually put up decent numbers. That's why I mentioned him. So there you go. Again, you've got coordinators out, quarterback out, 2 receivers out, top running back out, and the line started at 4, but you've now got an additional 10 points, or you're going to give an additional 10 points, 6 points, to get to 10 because of all these changes. I'd rather give 10 with all these changes than give 4 and have to go up against coordinators and quarterback and running back and so forth. So even though Pitt has some losses, they'll have their quarterback, coordinators, coach, and look, Reed is the one guy on offense, the only guy on offense that's significant. They won some games this year without him. So I wouldn't worry about that. And that's why Pitt has to be considered one of the better plays this bowl season. Next up, we've got the Pinstripe Bowl. This is going to be where the Yankees play. And this is where you're going to see opt-out and changes from both sides. For Penn State, they've already lost the defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles. So he's gone. So he won't be in the game. He's gone to Tennessee. Players out. Defensively, Durant, NFL, defensive tackle. Defensive back, Zakee Wheatley, safety, also NFL. Second on the team in tackles with 74. A.J. Harris, cornerback, not playing. Running back, Nick Singleton, not playing. Their top offensive lineman, not playing. So that would be 5 key players, starters for Penn State, not playing. All of them because of the NFL and their defensive coordinator. For Clemson, they also have significant losses. They have Woods and Parker on the defensive front, both considered before the season began potential top 10 draft picks. Now, Clemson has had such a disappointing season that their stock is going to drop, you would think, because they were a part of it. They did not have the type of season that many people thought that they were. So I think what's going to happen now in the draft process, the whole NIL deal and the players getting paid, that's going to, if you see a player that has made a significant boost in finances from one year to the next while he's playing college football, and his game deteriorates from one year to the next, it is a factor. Now, I'd say 95% of the time it's a factor. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's other circumstances. But most of the time, you have to, that's a direct correlation on, wait a second, what happens now when he gets paid even more in the NFL? Does that mean he doesn't love football? Does that mean he really just looks at this as a business? And that's why I think some of these, the kids will see their stock drop. Also, Barnes, safety. He's going to transfer. So that's not a pro player, but it's still a player who was 5th on the team in tackles, will not be playing. Their number 2 tackler, Woodaz, he's dealing with an injury. So he's out. Offensively, by the way, the defensive tackle, K-Part's also skipping. And Terrell, AJ's little brother, injured. Decides, I'm not playing, banged up, not going to give it a go. So Barnes, Capehart, Woods, Terrell, Parker, Woodaz, all out. Offensively, wide receivers, Williams, Wesco, out. Williams, NFL, Wesco, injury. And finally, three offensive guards, three of the top offensive guards banged up, not going to play. So when I look at this, I'm looking at more talent on Clemson's side will not be there. Now, the good thing for, if you're looking at it from, again, just a perspective of who is there, Clemson will have an edge because I haven't heard anything about quarterbacks on either side, especially Clemson. So that gives them an edge. They've got experience. But we've talked about Penn State quite a bit here. We have the Penn State show, and their young quarterback has done a really fine job. And now he gets more and more practice time. He was getting better and better as the season wore on. So I don't really look at it as a major deal because Clemson, even if you want to look at it when they were playing with a full deck, was very disappointing. Penn State, we know they were disappointing earlier in the season. Then Franklin goes, and it took them about a week or two, and then all of a sudden they started playing really good football and almost knocked off Indiana, the only team in the country, Indiana, number one ranked undefeated Indiana. They had them late, almost beat them. You saw them beat Rutgers to end the season. They shouldn't have beat Rutgers. Rutgers handed the game to them late. And that's just a Rutgers thing, not a Penn State thing. But they still won the game. And I looked at that more as Penn State was they had already reached a level. They weren't playing a team that they really cared to play. It didn't mean anything to Penn State. And so I understood why they didn't have their A game in that one. But now you're still going to be seeing a lot of players with the new coach coming in. He's going to oversee, I'm sure, what's going on. He's got his eye on these kids, who's going to play for us and all that. And again, young quarterback as well. I think you're going to get a good effort out of the both teams and who's there. But I do and look, that's the other thing. Clemson has an advantage where they have a coach that's won national championships on one sideline. Penn State still has an interim on the other. So I kind of think that equals out, even though Clemson has a lot more talent that won't be in this game. Now, check this out. The Big Ten, 14-3 straight up versus the ACC in bowl games. Wow. 13-4 against the spread. So big edge there for Penn State. I'm going with Penn State. This is a tough one, real tough one. But I just look at this as I just think there's so much talent that is lost for Clemson. And Penn State, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt here. And I'll jump on the Nittany Lions getting 3. All right. So the line was 4. It's now 3. So I'm okay there. And I'll, because I actually look at this game as a pick 'em. I really do. And so I'm going to get 3. I'm going with Penn State. All right. Now here's a game that I would consider one of the top bowl games that you would want to wager on. And that's UConn and Army. And Army is now a 9.5-point favorite in the Fenway Bowl. So you know where that's going. That's going to be 2:15 on Saturday. And this one, I forget where it started out. Let's see what happens if I do this. Hopefully I'll just be able to back up. All right. So it started out as 3.5 UConn. And it's now 9.5 Army. Well, you got to have it figured out why that is. So head coach UConn, gone. Jim Mora off to Colorado State. Awesome hire by Colorado State. We talked about it at the time. We'll do a video on that in the next month or two, whenever we do it. Who knows? I don't know when we'll do it. But I'm looking forward to that. And this is going to be one of the sleeper hires. Love the hire. Okay. He's gone. Quarterback, Fagnano, gone. And all he did this season was 69% accuracy, 287 yards a game, a 28-1 ratio, which is absolutely amazing. Their top running back and the top 3 running backs not playing, including Cam Edwards, who's a 1,000-yard running back with 14 touchdowns. The number 2 running back has only 229 yards. Then I think he's also gone, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, like I said, the top 3 running backs are gone. Okay. Skylar Bell, one of the sleepers in the NFL draft. Can't wait to start talking about the NFL draft. We'll be doing that real soon. Thanks to our partners over at the RLads, rlads.com and the RLads Football Network. So that's where the easier it will be for me to be able to put up as many videos as possible. Okay, so Skylar Bell, 101 receptions, 12 over 1,200 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns, not playing. That's on offense. Oh, also their top offensive tackles, not playing. All right, so once again, coach, quarterback, running backs, top wide receiver, 1,000-yard receiver, and your starting tackles not playing. And on defense, their top cornerback, Cam Chadwick, who had 64 tackles and 4 interceptions, not playing. Their number 2 tackler, a linebacker with over 100 tackles, not playing. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, other than the fact that Army, everybody's playing. Of course they are. It's a military team. And this is going to be important because we're going to talk about with this Navy. Military bowl teams are 19-1 straight up, 16-3-1 against the spread as bowl favorites. So I am all over Army. Now, look, this is not last year's Army team, but this is a team that was good enough to upset Navy a few weeks ago. And this is a UConn team. Now, remember, this is UConn. This is not Ohio State, where, all right, well, even though we lost all this, most of our backups are still 3 and 4 stars. UConn, most of their backups are 3 and 2 stars. And you got to, and Jim Mora was such a huge part of this program. So, yes, if Army does not cover this game, then they just decided to take the day off. But that's not what Army does. And I don't expect them to do that anyway. All right, so there you go. That's the Fenway Bowl. Oh, okay. Let's see if they leave us off right where we want them. And they do not. Thank you very much for that. Next up, let's go to the game at 3:30 on Saturday, Georgia Tech and BYU. And this could have been a playoff game. And unfortunately, it's not. Well, look, Georgia Tech doesn't deserve any playoff talk because their defense just fell apart. I'd be surprised if they hold on to the coordinator. But anyway, we'll see. Brent Key, there was a hot name for a head coaching job. Penn State was one of them. But they really fell apart late, as we all know. Very disappointing to me personally. So anyway, Georgia Tech, both teams, not a lot of key losses personnel-wise. But the one thing that does stick out is the top play caller. They have co-offensive coordinators, but their play caller is gone. So Chris Wenke, the old Florida State quarterback, he is a co-offensive coordinator who will take over the play calling for Georgia Tech. So really not a lot of big deal here regarding anything like we just talked about. But if we're just matching up the game, I mean, you have to take BYU. BYU proved last year that they got robbed, and they want to prove to everybody that they shouldn't have. And as a 3-point dog to Colorado, who played, I believe they played Sanders in honor. How else would they have been a 3-point favorite? But BYU crushed Colorado in that game. And now BYU is in a position where, once again, I think that they're going to go out there and they're going to play some football. They got a young quarterback who's still going to be there next year. LJ Martin, probably going to be his final game at BYU. I don't know if he has any eligibility left. Another player we'll talk about regarding the draft if he is ready to come out. But I expect BYU to come to play. And if BYU comes to play, they are a better team than Georgia Tech. They just are. Again, Georgia Tech, just very, very disappointing to end the season. All right. Then at 4:30, also on Saturday, we have the Arizona Bowl. And the line here is now 5.5 Fresno, up from 3. So a few things here. Miami of Ohio will be without their number 1 wide receiver, Cam Perry, who was a 900-yard receiver. averaged 23 yards per catch with 6 touchdowns. It's a huge loss. They're at a plethora of receiver talent. So he stuck out and out. Also, keep in mind that their quarterback situation, Gutkowski came in when DeQuan Finn, and we joked about this when he decided that he wasn't going to play anymore because he was going to prepare for the NFL draft. It's like, why? To do what? I mean, DeQuan Finn. I mean, 2 years ago, I would have said, oh, yeah, that's it. Wow, DeQuan Finn. Okay. DeQuan Finn has not lived up to the way that he started his college career. He just hasn't. So I don't know who whispered NFL draft in his ear. Maybe he wanted to get there as early as possible so they could determine, hey, should you play another position? Because DeQuan Finn is not going to play in the NFL. And if he does, then whoever he plays for is going to be a pretty bad football team. Anyway, let's see. And probably a banged up team at quarterback. Let's see here. So Gutkowski. And now look, we're expecting him to play, so we haven't heard an announcement yet. So just keep an eye on that. It's just that he's been playing, so I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. But check this out. He is, let's see, he'll be making his 4th start. His completion percentage is only 50%. He has not thrown an interception, so that's good. But he's only thrown for 136 yards a game. So then, and again, he's now taking out your number 1 receiver, and you have a freshman quarterback. Not a good sign there. They're also going to be without their top edge rusher, Adam Trick, who led the team. He had 8.5 sacks, 12.5 tackles for loss, 59 tackles. Definitely their best player on defense. He's not playing. And let's see. Also, offensive tackle not playing, cornerback not playing. They're transferring. So all of the transfers and opt-outs are on Miami, not Fresno. So that and so look, that's I don't even know, to tell you the truth, this was a completely healthy team. And the only thing is you had a freshman quarterback. I still don't know if Fresno State probably still be favored. So look, I don't think Fresno State was one of the better teams in Mountain West, but they have a new coach. He's done a good job. They blew out Boise State earlier this year. That's a good sign. They had a better year this year, so they're headed in the right direction. The only thing Miami's got going for them is they've covered 6 straight bowl games. So Martin has done a really good job as a long-time head coach there at taking care of business in bowls. Matter of fact, they were in this bowl game last year, the Arizona Bowl, and as a 2-point favorite in the game, they crushed Colorado State. So same surroundings. We'll see if maybe that helps them. But Fresno should be the play here. At 5:45 is the New Mexico Bowl on Saturday. And Eric Morris is gone. He'll be coaching Oklahoma State. So Neil Brown, the former West Virginia coach, will be taking over. Interim coach will be their associate coach and special teams coordinator, Drew Swoboda. And so he'll be taking over. Also, the offensive coordinator left. So they're going to have an interim offensive coordinator. So they'll have an interim head coach, interim offensive coordinator. And this is from a North Texas team with Drew Mestemaker, the number 1 offensive team in college football. So, that matters, but Mestemaker is going to play, and that matters more. No question about it. This, as I said a couple weeks ago, when we went over the bowl season, we talked about this as being one of the better matchups in the bowls because you had one of the elite offenses this year against one of the elite defenses. So it's a really good matchup. And San Diego State, they have a loss themselves. Their defensive coordinator, he gets a job. He moves up. Rob Ulrich will go to Nebraska. So that's a loss there for San Diego State. So they're going to have an interim coordinator. Also very important. Well, it's kind of important. San Diego State's quarterback, Denegal, injured, surgery, not going to play. So Bert Emanuel, the former Central Michigan quarterback who was here for 1 season, takes over. And he's more of a gadget guy. He's like you bring him in for a few plays. He's going to run the ball more than he's going to throw it. Matter of fact, he only has 60 career pass attempts. And we're talking about somebody that has been around for 4 years. Matter of fact, 9 pass attempts this year out of the 60 in his career. So I wouldn't expect him to throw the ball much either. I mean, Lucky Sutton's going to run the ball a ton, and he's going to run the ball a ton. So look, Denagol's not a great passer. He just wasn't. I mean, I think his average percentage was like 50. So it wasn't like he's a guy, oh, you're taking a guy that's got 200 yards a game. No, that's the thing that held back San Diego State from easily winning the Mountain West. If San Diego State had just an average quarterback, they would have coasted this conference. They had no passing game. So losing Denagol is not a major deal. And I look at the losses here, and to tell you the truth, I kind of think they even out. So now we just kind of go back to who's the favorite. North Texas is now up to 5.5. And this is one of those things where I think we've seen a bump there. Maybe it's because Drew Mestamaker announced to everybody that because there was some question of whether he was going to play. So maybe him saying, yes, I'm playing. Okay, we know you're going to play. Well, okay, maybe that's it. But I still think San Diego State's the way to go. And at least that's what I'm going to do. And the reason is, and I'll talk about this next week when we go over the playoffs, is that I've said this a few times lately, talking college. Defense is what's going to win the championship this year in college football. And defense over offense in big games is also what's going to dictate who wins and loses most of the time. And that's the reason why I'm taking San Diego State here. It may not be the sexy way to go. Everybody wants to go with the offensive guy and the offensive team. But look, North Texas shouldn't have been favored over Tulane at Tulane in the championship game. Why were they? Because they had Drew Mestamaker and a high-powered offense. And that's what was in everybody's mind. It's always what's in everybody's mind is the offensive guy and who's the best quarterback. And a lot of times that's just not the way you should be doing it. Now, there are some times you should do that. I completely get that. I really do. It's football. Quarterbacks matter. But in these types of situations, I think on average, go with the defense. That's the way I'm going to do it. Look, I think it's a lot easier to just say, I'm going to put my money on Drew Mestamaker and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch him throw for 350 yards and so forth. And we'll see. We'll see what happens here because it's one of those things where, you don't know. It's Mountain West against the American, and San Diego State, even though they did not play in the championship game, should have been, as I said, I think it should have been San Diego State, New Mexico in the championship game. And North Texas did go to their championship game. So, and both teams very good against the spread this year. But yeah, I'm not surprised to see the spread go up. And I will say this: I think we're going to find out what's going to go on in this game early, because San Diego State's defense, as long as they come to play and they're just ready for this game, and it's not a bad matchup, then I think we're going to be able to see that pretty early on in the game. But if you turn on the game, say at the end of the first quarter, and it's 14-7 North Texas, I think San Diego State's in a lot of trouble. All right. Next up, let's go to the 7:30 game. And boy, Saturday is going to be just the old days. They never did this. In the old days, they would spread out every ball game, even on Saturdays. It would be if there's Saturday bowl games, there'd be 1-12, 4, 7-10. Now, because of the playoffs, they are just hammering these games in. And if it's it's almost like, hey, it's the regular Saturday of college football games. It's just multiple games and multiple times. So you got the Gator Bowl. And this is a good matchup. You have the Virginia losers of the ACC championship game. Missouri had a very strong year. Eli Drinkwitz, he's one of the better coaches in college football. You do have a lot. I have a lot to go over here. All right. From Virginia side, if they get 11 wins, it would mark the most ever for the program. So this is very significant. It's something that they're striving for. And this is what you want to see in ball games. Who cares? All right. So that's a sign that Virginia is going to care. I have yet to hear from my contact at Virginia about top wide receiver Terrell Harris. keep an eye on that. Okay, that would be very important. Terrell Harris is their best receiver. 847 yards, 59 receptions, 5 touchdowns, and he was injured in the ACC championship game. That definitely hurt him. And we'll see whether or not he plays in this one. All right, so check that out. Also, when you look at, let me just see here. Okay. Yeah. Also, when you look at the fact that Virginia will be looking to win a bowl game for the first time since 2019. Excuse me, 2018. They haven't been to a bowl since 2019. So you have a team that's really interested in being here. They've got a team that is looking to do something that no other team has done or no other team has done in the history of the program. So there's lots to like. But they do have the one injury to keep an eye on. For Missouri, a little bit more news here. All right. So even though Drinkwitz is staying, unless he somehow takes the job at Michigan or something, there'll be a big buyout there if that happens. But who knows? Maybe these players know something we don't. But they're already seeing players who are not going to be in this game. 3 of them who are going to transfer out. Quarterback Bo Prabula, who is their definite starter all season until he was injured. He will be transferring. Their number 3 and number 4 receivers are transferring. Their number 1 tight end is banged up, and it looks like he's not going to play. Brett Norfleet leads the team with 5 touchdowns. So who's going to start? Freshman quarterback Matt Zollers. He played several times, started several games when Prabula was out. 53% completion percentage and only 57 yards a game. So, and he didn't play a lot, but that's not very good compared to Prabula's 194. They still have Hardy, and I'm very proud of Ahmad Hardy. Of course, when we do our preseason show many months ago, we talked about Ahmad Hardy as maybe the best transfer from the group of 5 to the Power 5. Not a lot of people who knew who Ahmad Hardy was, but we told you right here at ProLine TV and the Our Football Network. He had a monster freshman campaign at Louisiana Monroe and knew he'd be a big, big addition to this team and actually played a lot bigger of a role than I even thought he would. But I love Ahmad Hardy, and he's going to be there. So that's their run-first team. Now, also, this is big. Kirby Moore, offensive coordinator. He is the new head coach at Washington State. Okay. So he is not going to be at Missouri as the offensive coordinator. So they will have an interim OC. Leading tackler, linebacker Josiah Trotter, dealing with a knee injury. So he had surgery on the knee and will not play. He was second on the team in tackles for loss with 13 and had 84 tackles. You know who the second guy on the team was in tackles? 51. So 33 tackle difference. That shows you the miss with Josiah Trotter not in the lineup. So all of the player coach distractions, all but one, are at Missouri side. And who knows, maybe Terrell Harris will play. And if that happens, then Virginia's in an even better situation. The line is 4. And this is the first line that's actually, I think that we've talked about today, that actually moved in my direction. So it's now down to 4 from 6. But I still love the line here. I like everything about this. The only thing I don't like is just I don't like going against Eli Drinkwitz. He's one of the better coaches in the game. And I know Elliott's done a fantastic job of Virginia this year and all that. I do wonder a little bit about how they'll feel after the loss. You know, you lose the championship game of your conference, and especially when you do it as the favorite, and it knocks you out from going to the playoffs. That's something that might stick with them. So that is something that I'm a little bit concerned with. And then the final game on Saturday is the Texas Bowl, LSU in Houston. The line is 2.5. And I'm taking Houston. Who would have thought that this would be the case, talking about Houston and LSU? But Willie Fritz, one of our favorite coaches here, Mark Lawrence and I have talked about Willie Fritz for a long time. And he's starting to get the Houston program going now. Look at where he's got him. He's got him in a pretty decent bowl game. He's going to be the home team because they're playing this one. Actually, I don't know if they're playing. I know they're playing. I don't know exactly. I know they're playing in Houston. Let's see. Where is this Texas Bowl? Does it say it? Let me see if I can pop up and find out where exactly. Let's see. Texas Bowl location. All right. Oh, it's at where the Houston Texans play. Okay. So there you go. So that's where the game will be. So look, home game, even though it's still home game. Look, LSU, they're going to travel well anyway. I don't think this would be a monster home game for Houston, but I would expect as many, and I actually think this would be good to see exactly how does Houston, what is their fan base like? Because if Willie Fritz is going to get this program going, I'm sure he's going to want to see a lot of commitment from the fans. They're playing an SEC team. They're not asking their fan base to travel a lot. So let's show up and let's make this a home game, because LSU, even though they travel and have all the recognition in the world compared to Houston, this is not nobody. If you're an LSU fan, I mean, you don't care about this game. You wanted to win a national championship this year. You had Nussmeier at quarterback and Brian Kelly. That's what you were talking about. And now you're going to play in this game. Now, here's the other thing. All of the issues as far as coach and player, they're coming on the side of LSU on defense because their top 3 defenders are not playing. Their top corner, who's going to be a potential top 10 draft pick, Mansour Delane, he's not playing. Linebacker Harold Perkins, who led the team in sacks and tackles for loss. He's been like their best player the last 2 or 3 years. He's not playing. And Whit Weeks has been kind of banged up most of the season anyway. He's not playing. So 3 of your best defenders out for LSU. You've also got a big advantage with prepping time for the game, coach-wise. You have Willie Fritz on one sideline and Frank Wilson on the other. So you can see why Houston is the favorite in this one. And I definitely like Houston. Let's move on to Monday. And the Georgia Southern App State ridiculous Birmingham Bowl, because you have 2 teams playing from the same conference. So this is not what we want to see. Nobody wants to see this. I mentioned BYU and Colorado before. That's what we saw last year. And this is just not good, especially when these 2 teams have played this season. I mean, at least if they hadn't played, I don't know if BYU played Colorado last year, but this is not good. Now, the line moved from 4 to 7 to Georgia Southern, as well it should. The only thing that there's a knock on Georgia Southern is because Clay Helton, who's a good coach for Georgia Southern, has done a good job there, but he hasn't been able to finish the deal in bowls. In his 3 years as the head coach, they've lost all 3 bowl games. Now, this is the 4th also that they're the favorite in the bowl game. So that's not a good sign. Let me just double check that. I'm going to double check that they were the favorite in all these. Not sure it really matters, but let me see. Just want to double check. Here we go. And yep, they were the favorite in all. This is the highest number that they were a favorite. Okay, now, why am I still taking Georgia Southern, or why am I taking Georgia Southern? Because Clay Helton has not done a good job in getting his team prepared for bowls. Is it because they beat App State by 2 as a 5-point road dog in early November? No. It's because of all the significant losses on the side of App State, including the fact that this is a team with 5 wins. So if you have 5 wins in the Sun Belt, you don't deserve to be in this game, and not just deserve, but you're just not good enough. And so they're 0-7 straight up this year versus bowl teams. So anytime they played a bowl team this year, they haven't beaten them. But it is 7 points, and they lost by 2 earlier this year. But again, it was a home game. And besides their linebacker, Colton Fairs, who is easily the best defender on the team. He's only a sophomore. He's having a monster season. I'm surprised he's not transferring. Maybe they gave him all the money. But 5 key defensive players will not play in this game. 5. Their top 2 quarterbacks not playing in the game. And their top wide receiver, who was injured in mid-November, he had 55 receptions, over 600 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And he was, and the fact that he is still today the top receiver after being injured in mid-November. I know it was only a few games, but still, it just shows you there is a big difference between Barnes, their top receiver, and their next guy who will be playing in the game. That is a lot. And this was not a good team. So you have not a good team playing in a bowl game with that top 2 quarterbacks, your top receiver, 5 key defenders. You're 0-7 against bowl teams. You lost to the team you're playing in this game. And when you played them at home, the only thing I can see here is the 7. That's it. But I don't have any problem giving up the 7 because I don't see anybody on Georgia Southern side of significance that will not be in this game. Now we go to Tuesday, and this one, let me just double check because I think this is when we start to get, because Monday is just one game at 2:00. Tuesday we do have 2 games. I think so. Yeah. Wait, is it 2 games or no? It's 3 games on Tuesday. Okay. So you've got the first one at 2:00 between Coastal and Louisiana Tech. So you have the Sun Belt and Conference USA. And yet the Conference USA is a heavy favorite. Why? Well, there are reasons. Tim Beck being fired, of course, is a big one. The new head coach will come over from Missouri State. You saw what happened to them in the ball game. Interim coach will be the defensive coordinator. Okay. Coastal Carolina completely fell apart at the end of the season. They didn't look good early in the season. We were trashing all over them, telling you Tim Beck was not going to keep his job. And all of a sudden, they made a quarterback change to a younger kid. They started beating teams that we didn't even know how they did. They just came up with wins, even though they were outgained in them. And all of a sudden, they were a team that looked pretty good to potentially hang on to compete with James Madison for the title. And that fell apart towards the end of the season when they lost their last 3 games, including their last 2 by 110-17. You can see why Tim Beck's no longer around. Their top offensive linemen will not play. Matter of fact, 2 offensive linemen are transferring, and their starting offensive center is banged up. So 3 key offensive linemen not in the game. As far as personnel, though, the real key players that are not playing are on Louisiana Tech side. Even though I mentioned the offensive line issues for Coastal, Louisiana Tech's top edge rusher, Makai Mason, is not playing. He had 68 tackles, 14.5 tackles for loss. Their top tackler, Jacob Fields, with 92 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 2 pick sixes, along with another cornerback, are out. So 3 players on defense, 2 top players on defense, not playing for Louisiana Tech. So even though Coastal has some players missing, Louisiana Tech's players are more important. So you might be wondering why the line is so big. Well, I think the line is big for a couple of reasons. One, it's in Louisiana, so you'll have a home game for Louisiana Tech. So maybe that'll help. Also, they're just a better team anyway. Even though they're in the Conference USA, Louisiana Tech, they've had a good program. Sonny Cumbie's done a good job there. And they were a pretty good team this year. Again, it does a really good job. And this has just been a really solid program. Even like we see it whenever they even play non-conference, more than not, they're pretty competitive. You know, they don't get close to winning often, but they don't get annihilated. So yeah, they had the same type of season this season. And they even started their season with quarterback injuries and things like that. But yeah, for the most part, they're the better team, even without a couple of big players on defense. I just think you're looking at a game where the way the season ended, you get the feeling that it's like, we've already turned the page. Why are we even in this game? And let's just move on. And that's why Louisiana Tech is the heavy favorite, because it just looks like Louisiana Tech is going to be the team that, hey, it's a home game and it's a bowl game. We'll win it. Where Coastal is just, what are we playing for? So look, they have a new coach, and I like the hiring a lot. I like this guy, Beard from Missouri State. I think it's a great hire for Coastal Carolina. He's the perfect hire for Coastal. Another good sleeper hire. So I don't know. Maybe he comes in. Maybe he's able to say a few things and get them riled up and excited to play. I don't know. That's the only thing I could see that could possibly help. Not that Louisiana Tech is some sort of. They didn't even win the Conference USA championship, so it's not like they're like at a certain other level. It's just will Coastal play the game? That's why I think the line is what it is. Tennessee and Illinois. And this one will be at 5:30 on the 30th. And this will be, again, almost like a home game for Tennessee. This one's in Nashville. The line is 2.5 down from, what was this line? 4. So it's dropped a little bit. Both teams are playing without key players. Top wide receiver, Chris Brazel, 1,000-yard receiver, not playing. He'll be a top pick in the draft. And they're also going to have an interim defensive coordinator because they're going to be waiting for Jim Knowles to come in next year. Illinois, meanwhile, they are without their top edge rusher and without their top offensive lineman, both getting ready for the NFL. So, again, I look at it as pretty much even. I don't think there's anything there to look at. I think maybe Tennessee has an edge because they're going to be kind of at home. But I like Illinois in this game. There's a lot going on at Tennessee, not a lot of good. I'm just hearing way too much stuff outside, distractions with the program, and Josh Heupel doesn't seem like he had a good end of the season, and they got blown out by Vandy. So I just wonder about that. I think if everybody was healthy and this was a regular season game, I'd probably give the edge to Tennessee. And I might even pick Tennessee depending on the line. But in this situation, I think Illinois is a little bit more where everything's fine. I mean, yeah, we lost a couple of guys transfer and NFL, but that happens. But everything else, I think they're in a much more better frame of mind. And that's why I'm taking Illinois in the game. USC and TCU. And this one's going to be at the Alamo Bowl. It's been pretty much 6.5 the whole time. And there are definite notes here to keep an eye on. For USC, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, the 2 stud receivers, are not going to play. Lemon could be a top 10 draft pick. Lane, probably a second rounder, but still, even late first, not a surprise. Safety, Kamari Ramsey, one of the top players in defense, not playing. Now, there are 2 players you want to keep an eye on who want to play, but they're injured and may not play. Bishop Fitzgerald, the safety, might be their best defensive player. That was such a huge loss to have him get banged up and not play just before the Oregon game. And that really ended their season. And an edge rusher, Anthony Lucas, also banged up, wants to play. So this game is going to be, you got almost another week. So keep an eye on Bishop Fitzgerald and Anthony Lucas to see if they're healthy enough to play. I mean, I don't think they're going to play. I think it's asking a lot. Usually, even if a player wants to play or says he wants to play and he's injured and he's an NFL talent, it's really asking a lot. Let me see, though, about their status. Because even though these guys, especially Fitzgerald, who's going to be a really good pro, let me take a look at their eligibility. I don't think Fitzgerald. Okay, good. Yeah, Fitzgerald and then Lucas. Yeah, both of them NFL bound, it looks like. So, yeah, we'll see. Again, I doubt it. That would be 5 key players, especially Lemon and Lane on offense and Ramsey and Fitzgerald in the secondary on defense. On the other side, though, TCU quarterback Josh Hoover not playing. Also, interim offensive coordinator needed because their coordinator, Kendall Briles, is off to South Carolina. All right, so TCU, no quarterback, and Josh Hoover is one of the most prolific quarterbacks over the past 2 to 3 years since he's been playing at TCU. I mean, he's at 289 a game, almost threw for 30 touchdown passes this season. So Ken Seals gets to start. Now, I've seen a lot of other quarterbacks that are being thrown into the starting gigs, the starting gig in the bowl games here that do not have good resumes. At least Seals has a resume. You know, he did start early on in his career at Vanderbilt. He was a 3-year on and off starter there. And this was when Vandy, though, wasn't very good, but still experience. And he wasn't the worst quarterback. So that does matter. But the last 2 years here, since he transferred from Vanderbilt, he's only thrown 19 passes. But at least he's got a resume. So that is important. I just think USC is the way to go. Lincoln Riley, the fact that he's staying there, he's going to have a huge recruiting class. I think that's a good sign. The team was making progress this season. And Jaden Maeva is coming back. So he has an experienced starting quarterback that is expecting next year to be even better. Maeva is looking at next year as his way of getting to the NFL. You know, probably if he improves upon this year, you're still only looking at a quarterback in the mid rounds at the best. So I don't think Jaden Maeva is going to be anything special. I don't see it. He'd have to make dramatic improvements to him to be a second round pick or something like that. But hey, not everybody can be a star quarterback in the NFL. He's still really good at the college level. And that's the reason I like USC here. There's still going to be there's still a lot of talent there that will now get moved up into the lineup. And when Lincoln Riley has got a few weeks to get these kids prepared for it, and then you take out a big time quarterback from the other team, and I just think USC has got to be the way to go. Now we get into New Year's Eve games, starting with 12 o'clock Iowa Vanderbilt. And if you've been watching on my videos here all season on Proline TV, you know where I stand with Vanderbilt. And they did not do anything to disappoint me this year. They came so close to maybe having the season that would have been like my best prediction ever. And I'm 58. That's the kind of season, 57, I think. 57. That's the kind of season they almost had. Meaning, I mean, you're talking about a team that when we talked about I think we were going over if we had a sleeper, what was it? A sleeper national championship team, I think, or a sleeper playoff team. I might have been playoff team. Who would it be? And I said Vanderbilt, remembering that they were about 150 to 200 to 1 at the time to be a playoff team or to win a national championship. And I went Vanderbilt, and then I also went with Diego Pavia in the beginning of the season as a sleeper dark horse Heisman. And both of them, I came this close to it happening. And that is so that's how invested I've been in this program the last couple of years. And when it's all said and done, it's kind of sad because that doesn't come around very often. But it is what it is. And now I'll be looking for a new little sleeper to get behind next year. I do wonder about Pavia's statements with the Heisman. How does that affect him and his game? I don't know. Probably not. They did so well at the end to come through, especially the Tennessee game. You know, we talked about how important that was going to be and also how important it was going to be in the Kentucky game being his last home game. And all that worked. And those are big wins. And we had Vanderbilt earlier this season. Most of them were big wins. The only one that really caught us was the Alabama, that last second backdoor cover, basically, if you want to call it. There's another way to call it because Alabama won the game, but you know what I'm talking about. So it came that close to being the perfect season. But now I am worried because Iowa, this is the big reason. Iowa has covered all 7 games this season versus winning teams. So this is their MO. They get a team, whoever they play, they're a touchdown dog or whatever they are, and they get in these games, and you just wonder, how are they going to even be close in this game, like Indiana or whatever? How and they just do. Ferentz is just an unbelievable coach, and even though it would make life so much easier for my two fellow Big Ten teams here, I don't want him to retire. He's a great coach. I just don't. I love seeing the Kirk Ferentzes of the world. But yeah, I can't bet against Iowa here. I just can't. So if I'm giving advice, I'm saying take Iowa. That doesn't mean I'm taking Iowa to win the game. You are getting about plus 180 on the money line. That's not a bad idea because Vanderbilt last year broke their bowl drought. So really, there's nothing to accomplish here. There just isn't, except it is Diego Pavia's final game. And I would expect that he's going to go out blazing. Look, he's not a pro guy. I don't even know if he's going to get drafted, to be honest with you. I think if he does, he's going to be a 7th-round draft pick, but I don't know if he'll get drafted. I don't think he's got that type of ability. That doesn't mean that he can't latch on somewhere and be a backup and a career backup and hang around and be that type of guy that might be able to, be like to John Cooper, if I get the chance to talk to him before Dave in the coming weeks at our lads. Do you see Pavia as a draft pick? Maybe these guys, these expert scouts, see him as a lot better than I do. Again, it all comes down more than anything. It comes down to arm strength. That's going to be a big deal for someone like Pavia. But I think he's got a lot of tools to work with, but he's not a difference maker at the next level. He's a difference maker at the college level. This is the thing with the Iowa Vandy deal, is when you get these two teams side by side, it's like Diego Pavia maybe should have won the Heisman or could have won, and you got Iowa. It's like, yeah, that's pretty bad. So it's like Iowa's got like one of the worst quarterback situations in the conference, and maybe even all of Power 4. It's just not very good, even though it's a step up from last year, as crazy as that sounds. But these two teams combined at 17-4-1 against the spread this year. So if you took both of these teams every week, you went 17-4-1. Iowa 0-4 straight up, 4-0 against the spread this year as dogs. So keep that in mind too. That's the reason why I'd probably take Iowa, but Vandy to win the game. Arizona State and Duke in the Sun Bowl. And boy, at midseason, if these two teams were playing each other, there would be no doubt in my mind which side I would go on. But it's a different 2 months later, and it's like half the season's changed. And that's why I'm taking Duke in this game. They are now a 3-point favorite in this one. And Arizona State, the reason is because Arizona State just lost so much. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I mean, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to talk to my Arizona State contact and find out what, and we are going to do some interviews, a lot of interviews after, because the portal opens up on January 2nd, which I'm real excited about. There's going to be like free agency day in the NFL. And that's one of the best days of the year. It's like the trade deadline in the NFL or in hockey. It's one of the best fun days of the year. That's the same thing for the portal now in about a week. But after that, I'm going to talk to a lot of my contacts and get their input on how they do and what happened and the big splashes and such. And I don't understand why Sam Levitt would transfer. I know they were going. I knew they were going to lose Tyson, because he could be a top 10 draft pick at wide receiver. But they also lost both of their starting offensive tackles. They lost 2 of their top defensive backs, Keith Abney and Robinson. They lost their starting running back in Raleek Brown. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. and they lost Mateo, their starting tight end, who's the number 3 receiver. So they lost their number 1 and their number 3 receiver. We know Levitt's been out, but Levitt was an injury. I don't understand why he's transferring. I'm surprised about that. And then I'm hearing now, oh, Sam Levitt, he could go to Oregon. And see, that's the thing. See, I know there's some people who believe the transfer portal is just the worst thing to happen in college football. I think the people who say that are the traditionalists, or probably fans that say that are fans of the top programs, the programs like Alabama and so forth that used to thrive on being 3 deep and 4 5-stars. And that's why there's parity now in college football because of the portal. So that's why I believe it's better for the sport. But what I don't like about it, that I do think that it hurts them, but there's nothing you can do about it, is when the better teams just continue, like Indiana. You know what they're going to do next year? They're just going to go out and get another quarterback. They're going to buy another quarterback instead of doing it the hard way and recruiting kids without money. Indiana will buy a quarterback again next year. It's going to happen. And who knows, maybe it's Sam Levitt, because I'm hearing Sam Levitt to Oregon, and where he's going to go, he's going to get money, and maybe that's why he's going. But again, I don't understand why Arizona State can't pay him, and maybe he will, because that's the other thing. Just because you put your name in the portal doesn't mean that you're not going to return. Sometimes these kids will do this, and it's just their way because they don't have money where they're at. And maybe it's a negotiating tool. Maybe their agent says, hey, if just go to the portal, and even if you want to stay, go, because we'll get you more money here. Trust me, it'll help them pay for you more than they would if you just stayed. And there will be players. I don't know what the percentage is. Maybe it's 10%, but there will be players that will stay. So we'll see. But anyway, the fact is, loads of talent for Arizona State that will not be playing in this game versus Duke. One key player, offensive tackle Brian Parker. That's it. So I'm taking Duke. I think they have something to prove. I think this is the team. If I was looking at any team, matter of fact, the only reason I don't even like this game more is just because this was one of the teams this year that I got behind. There were 2 teams that I got behind at midseason that were my 2 national championship teams. I had my favorite and I had my sleeper. And both of them wiped out for separate reasons. Notre Dame, because they were basically criminally kept from the tournament, and not because of Miami. I said that before. And Arizona State, because of injuries. You beat Texas Tech. You're the only team to beat them. And then what happens the next week? You lose Levitt. Tyson's never healthy, and the season goes to wash. It just ruined Arizona State's chances of playing in the championship game again. And look, I think BYU is a very good representative, but they were no match for Texas Tech. Arizona State, if they were healthy and everybody was there, that would have been the matchup that everybody would have wanted to see, and we never saw it. But now, they're a shell of themselves. The only thing they have going for them going into this game is their head coach, who did not go to Michigan, which would have been kind of cool, but he was never leaving Arizona State. So I like Duke in this spot. They have something to prove. Out of all the teams going into the bowl, yes, BYU has something to prove, maybe Virginia, but more often you look at teams that feel like they were robbed of not going to the playoffs, that sort of thing. But Duke, I think, more so because they were the one Power 4 championship team that didn't get a chance to go. That, I think, means something. Plus, they're coming off a win. I mean, they beat Virginia fair and square. That's a win. That gives them confidence. And now they're playing. And to hear that Mentz is coming back, and that's going to be a big boost for them next year, because Mentz is a kid that I said a couple of years ago, he's going to be an NFL player. The question is, how good? Can he grow enough in college to become a second round, even a first round talent? I don't know. I don't know if he's in the right spot for that. because I think all that matters to him is he's making money. I'm actually surprised that he doesn't get more money to go to even a better program. But hey, he's making good money at Duke, and I guess he's happy there. And I think that's going to matter because Jeff Sims is he can't throw the football. He's a running quarterback, and he's not very good. So I think Duke's the way to go. Okay, we're almost round out these games. We're still on New Year's Eve, and you got Michigan and Texas. So my boys are looking for their head coach. I'm hearing now Jeff Brom's a possibility. I mentioned to you a few weeks ago when the job came open that I thought out of all the names we were hearing, DeBoer, there were like 5 or 6 names, the usual names. The one name that I said that I thought I'd give the best chance was going to be what's his name at Washington. Why can't I think of his name now? Anyway, I thought he was the guy that if I was going to pick someone, that's the guy I was going to go with. But now we're hearing Jeff Brom's a possibility. And I'd be that's fine with me. I think Jeff Brom is one of these head coaches that I think the only thing that separates him from being a great coach is not being at a great program. Now, the question for Jeff Brom is going to be, what does that matter to him? Does it matter to him championships, legacy, and all that? Or coaching at his alma mater? And there's nothing wrong with leaving your alma mater. Dillingham staying for that reason. Do I think Dillingham will stay there his entire career? Probably not. I think at some point, maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, if he does a really good job there, maybe he gets Arizona State to back-to-back playoff appearances, something like that, he's going to get a head coaching gig. That's the type, and that's what will make him leave. And he might even get at a program again, like a Michigan or an Ohio State or something like that. But unless, because I don't think there's a difference between changing cultures at your alma mater, the whole sleeping giant deal at Arizona State. I've been talking about that for 20 years, or 30 years, about how can you not have a great football program at Arizona State? It's the same kind of demographics as Florida. It's like, or even Southern California. It's like, how can you not take recruits to Arizona State and not be tempted to want to play there? I'm talking about a variety of things, including eye candy. I mean, these are young kids, okay? And there might not be, you look at a place to go when you're a young kid and look at the number of unbelievably attractive females that you have to enjoy your college career with, and sunshine, and you're in the Big 12. It's like, why wouldn't you want to go to Arizona State? So that's the reason why I think when you've got the right coach now, you can win there and you can get to a certain level. But then the question becomes, okay, once you get them to that level, what kind of a sleeping giant are they? Are they a Boise State sleeping giant? That kind of thing. Or are you talking about USC? Are we talking about Florida State? That type of giant football program. Miami, of course. I don't know. We've never seen it, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. So I'm sure that's something he's going to attempt. And I think if he can get that program to that level, then maybe he stays there for his entire career. But if it doesn't matter, if he gets it to a level where he knows that this is it, I can't go higher than this. I just can't. And now I've got this program to respectability, and it's something that I should be very proud of. But in order for me to even win one national championship here is going to take, everything working right for me. I don't know if I can do that. And now I think it's time for me I think I've given back to my university as much as I could. Now it's time for me to, be a little bit, what's in it for me now? And I think at that point, we'll see. But all right. Anyway, Michigan and Texas. And in this one, Biff Poggi thinks he probably has a game to show everybody whether or not he should be the head coach at Michigan. I don't see that happening. I think he's definitely plan F, but hey, why not go out there and he's going to coach this game like he has a chance. And unless, of course, by the time the game is next week, I think Michigan will have a coach by next week, though, and it won't be Biff Poggi. But hey, he's going to coach the team that way. And then if there is a coaching hire, could be Jeff Brom. Then hey, this is my chance at least to let's see what I can do and all that. Maybe I can get a head coaching gig somewhere else because I think he should be a head coach at a group of 5. I know he's not going to get it this year, but I think he earns that right at some point. I think he's proven to be a solid head coach before. So, yeah, either way, it's an opportunity. Both teams are going to be without key players. Michigan's going to be without Derek Moore and Barnum. They're best two edge rushers that combined for 14 sacks. Actually, Moore has 10 of them. Then on Texas's side, they have even more talent all on defense. They lose Ethan Burke, Trey Moore on the edge. They lose Anthony Hill Jr. at linebacker and Leifau at linebacker, and they lose Taffy at safety. So they have 5 guys that are not going to be available. 3 will be getting ready for the pros. 1 is banged up, and the other's transferring. So you've got the second top player in tackles for loss, the third best player in tackles, the second best player in tackles, and the third best player in tackles, tied with the other guy. So that's a lot of guys on defense that will not be available in this game against Michigan. Now, look, Arch Manning's going to be there. You got the 2 quarterbacks will be there. And I think that's, and we all would think that Arch Manning will have a pretty big game. And, I would expect him to have a solid game. Everybody's back on offense pretty much. So I think that side will be okay. And for Michigan's side, you look there, and I think this is going to be Underwood an opportunity for him to grow. And it's another reason why I just really would be all over the Jeff Brom thing. If Jeff Brom could get to Michigan and coach Bryce Underwood, wow. Wow. What a home run it would be for the program to have that happen. It's not going to happen in this game, but that's something to look forward to if you're a Michigan fan. Look, it's 7 points. It's 7.5, and I think that's pretty big because Texas has been very inconsistent this year. Yeah, they had some good runs towards the end of the season, no doubt about it, compared to the way the season began. But you take a lot of those players out on defense. I don't know. I'd probably go with Texas to win the game, but with that many points, I'd probably take Michigan to cover. Now we get to another game that's happening about the same time on New Year's Eve, and that is Nebraska and Utah. And this line has dropped a little bit. And I think the reason this line dropped a little bit is because, everybody knows now that one of the top edge rushers for Utah is not going to play. He's second on the team in sacks and tackles for loss, the kid Fano. Throw in the fact that the top edge rusher was already out because he was injured. Matter of fact, he got hurt in mid-November. John Henry Daly is an underclassman. And I forget when he was injured, actually. No, because he wasn't injured in mid-November. I was thinking about the receiver, Ryan Davis. So John Henry Daly, number 1 edge rusher, number 2 edge rusher. Throw in the fact that the 2 starting tackles, offensive tackles, who are going to be first-round draft picks. Matter of fact, Fano could be a top 10 draft pick. Out. And Ryan Davis, I talked about. So you might be wondering then, well, why do I like Utah a lot? Why is Utah one of my top plays of the bowl season? Well, that's easy, but we'll get to that last. Because on Nebraska's side, they fired the defensive coordinator as well as they should have. So they're bringing in the kid from San Diego State. I talked about the guy from San Diego State. But they also have key player opt-outs. The biggest one is Emmett Johnson because Raiola we already knew about. and he's not coming back. He's leaving the program. So we see how they play without him. Basically, TJ Lateef had one game that we went, wow, where did that's nice. The UCLA game. Hey, maybe having something there. No, doesn't look like it. That was just UCLA. Or at least that's what it looked like to me, because when he played the good teams, he didn't look so good, and he played a bad team, and he had a good game. But what was important, the big loss for them recently is not having your best offensive player in Emmett Johnson. So you lose your 1,400-yard running back who added 12 touchdowns. You also lose your top offensive lineman in Rocco Spindler. Okay, so you've got quarterback out, running back out, and this is not a top passing team. This is a running team that had a really good quarterback. Matter of fact, the problem Nebraska had was the fact that they didn't have really good weapons for Raiola. And that's the reason why I'm sure he's gone. I mean, they just didn't support him enough. There wasn't enough around him to make him a better player. And so that's a lot to lose. And they had an awful end of the season as well. So Utah ended their season strong. You know, they just ran out of gas. They just didn't have enough teams. You know, they had the loss to BYU, which killed them. And it just took them out. That was it. And there's nothing they can do to get it back. No, all the blowouts in the world couldn't get anything back. I mean, they did have that scare against Kansas, though. But the biggest deal here is no more Kyle Whittingham. And I'm actually surprised that we haven't heard anything about Kyle Whittingham being a candidate at Michigan. I can only imagine it has to just do with his age, and Michigan's probably looking for someone younger, someone that could be there for a long time, not someone that will probably be Whittingham. But that's what you have to keep in mind, that he is coaching his last game. He's been one of the most successful, I don't know, maybe he is the most successful head coach at Utah. Of course, you know, they have quite a legacy name there themselves from a long time ago, who just, you know, went on to Florida and won some went to Ohio State and won some national championships. So, but Whittingham is a lifer at Utah. He was there for the move to the Pac-12, a lot of success, a lot of championships and all that. Just couldn't win the big one. Came close to getting to the playoffs and getting it done. And now he's gone. And this is his last game. And that's why, even though there's not a lot of they're going to be without 5 key players on offense and defense, the fact is Nebraska's out with 3 key guys. So Utah was already better than Nebraska. Yes, bigger losses than personnel, no question. But playing in their last game, those kids are going to be playing their asses off for them. Nobody on that team is going to want to look in the mirror at the end of that game and say that you didn't do your part to win in Kyle Whittingham's final game. And that, to me, is enough to give 15.5 points. Because, look, quarterback's going to play. And that's the one thing I always look at when you look at these teams. You have to keep that in mind. That would be one of my tips when you're looking at all these exoduses. Like we just talked about with North Texas, let's just say. Just an example, not that I'm picking them. I'm just saying, always look at, with all the parts going out, just keep in mind, is the quarterback going to be there? Because if the quarterback is going to be there, it can be well, like this, the swap is like quarterback and how many did they lose? They'd have to lose like a really big amount to equal things up. If you know what I mean? So that's what you got to look at here in Utah. Hey, the quarterback's coming. The quarterback's going to be there. They still have a lot of players that are going to be there. They just happen to have a handful of guys, you know, key guys that are not. But it also means opportunity of other players. And this is what happens. You get the extra practice weeks, which is very important at this time of year for the young players that are going to make the step next year to starters. And this is the early opportunity for them to see that take place. Okay. Anyway, next up, and we won't be talking about these games until what are we talking about these games on Monday, I believe. Miami, Ohio State. There you go. The line there is 9.5. Oregon's the favorite. None of these lines surprise me at all. None of them. So, yeah, we'll talk about those games in a few days. Okay, and then we all wrap it up with the final day, and that is going to be on January 2nd. We have the 4 games at 1:00. Rice and Texas State in the Armed Forces Bowl, and I'm surprised we don't see Army here. But Texas State's an 11.5-point favorite against Rice, and I'm going to be all over Texas State here. G.J. Kinney has been here for 2 years. He's an excellent coach. They had a down year this year, but they still put up loads of points. And I anticipate that that'll happen in this one. That's why you see the total at 59.5. I could see Texas State in the 40s. So I would probably go with the over here. Again, not a total guy. But G.J. Kinney has never lost a game. He's 2-0 in the 2 years he's been here. That includes 2023, the first bowl game when they played Rice. And they beat Rice 45-21 as a 3-point favorite. Now they're an 11-point favorite a couple of years later. It is going to be played at Fort Worth, Texas. A little bit of, not a big deal because both teams are there. So I'm not looking at this as a home field in any way, shape, or form. Not that these are two big programs that travel either, but there is a big loss for Rice. Their number 2 wide receiver, Drayden Dickman, will not play. And that means they only have one other wide receiver on the team that has over 105 yards receiving. And that is the kid Turner, Aaron Turner. So basically they got one guy out there, receiver, that they can count on. They're not a big high-powered passing team anyway. They want to run the football. They probably should be able to. Texas State's not exactly a good defensive team, which is the reason they're in this situation at 6-6. Their offense was just fine. It's just the defense was not very good this season. Anyway, G.J. Kinney's a really good head coach. You give him a few weeks, and I think Texas State should be able to smoke Rice in this one. Navy and Cincinnati. We're back to the military teams. And this was one of our sleeper teams that failed big time at the end of the season. BYU is, I think I had BYU as my long shot, and Cincinnati was my sleeper in the Big 12, or vice versa. So when I do my previews each season, I'll have a long shot for each conference and a sleeper for each conference, as well as who I think is going to win it. And Cincinnati and BYU were my 2 teams there. And BYU, awesome. Cincinnati, that was awesome until the last part of the season, and it all fell apart. They ended their season losing 4 straight up ATS, all by 6 or more, and 3 by 12 or more. They completely fell apart. Navy, meanwhile, of course, they had a really good year. You do have to wonder how they'll feel after losing the game against Army. That was definitely a little bit. What was trying to remember? What was Navy? And this was the team that really ruined. I think Navy was the team that ruined the Group of Five's chance. Yeah, because I was wondering. Yeah, Navy beat Army. I'm trying to think what went on in that game. What is it about that game? I'm trying to remember why I blacked out of that game. Let's see. Okay. I don't know why I had Army in my head that they had won that one. Let's see what I was here. That's why. Okay. This is why. So it was Army touchdown, Army field goal, Army field goal, Army field goal. And then Navy kicks the field goal there. And then the fourth quarter, you get the late touchdown. That's right. Now I remember. Because Navy was what were they, like a 6-point favorite or something like that? What were they favored in this game? And now I remember because they had the ball late. And that's the thing about triple option teams is when you bet triple option teams. This happened both pro and con when you watch these games against these teams, because when there's about 5 minutes left in the game. Normally, all right, let's say if you're a team, let's say you're a team that, where am I? Where are the games? Let's say you want the ball back. Like, okay, I got to get another score to cover the game or something. The military team, let's say they're up by 8, and you got to get another score. You got to get the ball back, and there's 5 or 6 minutes to go, and you're like, okay, that's enough time. Okay, just make a stop and I get the ball back, and then you realize about 5 minutes later, I'm in trouble. That's right. This is a triple option team, because all they do is run primarily. But of course, if they have the lead, they're going to keep running. And when a team just keeps running, that clock just keeps running. And you realize, holy shit, if I don't stop this team, they're just going to keep getting first downs and first downs and first downs. And that's the other thing military teams like to do is like they'll get 11 yards, 11 yards, 11 yards. It's not like they get the big ones that, okay, just score a touchdown. I can get the ball back and maybe I could, get that. It's like, yeah, I've seen a lot of situations where military teams can just milk that clock late in games. It does make for a good 3-hour game, though, in college football. Okay, so here we go again with the military team. And the line was 4. Now it's 7. Okay, so there's a couple of things that are going for total Navy. Okay. I told you about the military team trend. 19-1 straight up, 16-3-1 against the spread as bowl favorites for military teams. Now, check this out. If the military team is 10-0-1 against the spread, excuse me, if a military team is 10-0-1 against the spread, well, let me just say it better. They are also 10-0-1 against the spread if the military team has a win percentage of 750 or more, which Navy has. So not only do you have those great, like Army is going to have 19-1, 16-3-1. Army is going to get that. Navy's also going to get 10-0-1 against the spread if they are a 750 or better win percentage. So that's going to be a big edge for Navy. I told you how Cincinnati ended their season. So this is not what they wanted, the Liberty Bowl. I mean, we wanted to win the Big 12 and our season ended and we played our worst football of the year. And now our quarterback's gone. Sorsby transferring, gone. Their starting safety, Christian Harrison, gone. He's number 3 in tackles, by the way, with 66, and also led the team with 7 pass defense. So he's gone. Defensive tackle, Dante Corleone, gone. And the quarterback filling in for Sorsby will be a senior, so that's good. It's Brady Lichtenberg, but Lichtenberg only has 45 career passing attempts in 4 years at Cincinnati, including 6 this year. So he has no experience as a starting quarterback. The team is playing awful football, and they're going up against a military team that has had a tremendous season. They won the Commander-in-Chief trophy. They have all the confidence in the world. Everybody's playing, no opt-outs for Navy. And I gave you all the trends on the military side. So Navy is clearly the play in this one. Arizona SMU, and this is one game. Now look, keep in mind, because I'll try to bring up as much of these tidbits the closer we get to these games if we're doing videos on other days. But for the most part, you'll have to check this out for yourself, because this is a game right now that I don't have anything like right now, nobody has decided I'm not playing, I'm not opting out. There are no key players on either side. It doesn't mean we may not hear from that because these are the late games. Okay, this is January's second game, so keep that in mind. Check that out. But without anything like that happening, I'm definitely taking Arizona. I think it's just their year. We've been talking about this all season with Brennan. He's a fantastic coach at this level, and he's done it again with Arizona. Last year, we told you how he gets in late, didn't have a good start, and nothing worked for him. He had the full off season this season for the first time, and he goes out there with not as much talent. Ted McMillan was not on this year's team, and he still gets his team with Noah Fafita, the quarterback, to have a better year. They beat Arizona State in that big showdown, and I just think their confidence right now is through the roof, and I expect them to pull this out. And then the final game is the Duke's Mayo Bowl game, and this is between a 5-win SEC team. Okay, so I look, there is a big difference between 5-win Appalachian State and 5-win Mississippi State, because one's the SEC, and the SEC team that has 5 wins nearly beat several really good teams in the SEC, including Texas, for one. Mississippi State just 1-6 straight up versus winning teams. But again, they had some close calls against some really good teams. They ended their season 1-7 straight up in their last 8 and 0-3 straight up and against the spread in their final 3 games, losing all 3 by 19 or more. So just saying that, you would think, well, you got to go with Wake Forest, right? Well, no. I'm actually taking Mississippi State. Even though they're not going to be eligible for a 500 season. The fact is, this is Jeff Lebby's second season. This is a big opportunity. He's going with the younger quarterback again who played in the game, the Egg Bowl. So there's now more practice time. I think that'll be helpful for the young kid. Look, I like Dickert at Wake Forest. I think he's already done a great job getting this Wake team to an 8-win team this season. No question about it. But you lose your best player in Claiborne. And that's all I needed to see. Claiborne was a 900-yard rusher. He's practicing for the NFL now. And I don't know what kind of player he'll be at the next level, but he was everything to this Wake Forest offense. This Wake Forest offense did not have a passing game. Now, I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. I mentioned that before. I like the transfer from Charlotte. I think he should be the guy. I really do. I don't even know what they're wasting their time without Robbie Absher for. It's a bowl game now. Just like Mississippi State, get the young kid in. See what you got there. And I'd be more afraid if he was in there myself. Now, look, he's more prone to being maybe, you get some more turnovers, things of that nature, especially if you don't have a great passing team to begin with. And I think that's been the problem, is that you want to get the passer in over the runner because he's a better quarterback. But the runner probably fits your offense better because you just don't have a passing offense. So I get the whole thing there. But I don't know. You take Claiborne out, and I just don't see where Wake Forest is going to be able to move the football at all. Meanwhile, Mississippi State comes in. I told you about the way they ended their season. They would like nothing better to get all that ugliness wiped away with a bowl win. And I think that would be very important for Jeff Lebby in year 2. And again, there's no big players that I see here on Mississippi State side that won't be playing in the game as of now. So that's why I'm taking Mississippi State in that one. And then you do have this FCS game, by the way. I tell you what, Illinois State's a nice little story. They're getting 10.5. And this game is a neutral site game. I see at Nashville. I actually think you should take Illinois State. I've actually paid attention to some of these games. They had a tremendous comeback win late in their first round matchup. And they've got this little team of destiny thing going on. So anytime you have a team of destiny thing happening and you're winning, really dramatic games and things like that, you got to pay attention, and especially when you're getting 10.5 in a neutral site. So we know the better team is, but I'm just saying it may not be a bad idea. It's January 5th. Maybe you can, maybe I'll do a parlay or something like that with the money line with some of the other. I think we'll be getting into the semifinals by then in college football. Now, who will play in the semifinals? Well, we'll see. We'll talk about it. Hopefully on Monday, because that looks like the best day to do that. And not a whole lot to go on just yet, though. No early insights other than what we told you before the playoffs began. And I think I'm pretty much sticking with it. I said that I would go with the winner of Miami and Texas A&M against Ohio State. The only thing is that I am concerned about the offense as a whole for Miami. But Beck did not have a bad game. If anything, it was really just, look, special teams was not very good for either team. But the fact is that, well, as I said in the beginning of the show, and I'm going to stay true to this, I think that when we look at it, when it's all said and done, defense is going to win this championship this year. Follow the defense. That's how I'm going to do it. And that's why I'm going with Miami. I'm going to go on with Miami as long as I can. As good as Ohio State's defense is, and they have good defensive players as well, okay? I'm not saying they do not. But Miami's defensive front is the best in college football. And they proved it. And I think what was great about that, if you're a Miami fan, was that you got to see it all come to fruition in one game. You got to see these NFL prospects all play just at the top of their level. And that's something that they can continue to ride, especially if you have a veteran quarterback. They got the veteran quarterback against the young quarterback. They've got that defensive front. And I've said this all season with Ohio State. I just want to see how Julian Sayin plays when he has guys in his face. When he doesn't have to sit in the pocket, pretty clean, which is what these Ohio State quarterbacks do for the most part, most of the season, because they're so talented and they're so much better than their opposition. And then you got to wait until the end of the season when you play big games. And then sometimes it's like, it's too quick, too fast. I wasn't prepared for this. We saw a little bit of that in the championship game. When you had two stud receivers like Ohio State had, and yet the offense, Indiana's got a good defense. I'm not saying they don't. They got good players. But Miami's got a better defensive front than Indiana does. And that's another thing with Indiana to keep it, and we'll talk more about. We'll be able to give Alabama a much tougher matchup. But there's nothing, and I'm going to hold to that. I don't see how this game. I don't see how Alabama is going to be able to stay close to Indiana. I just don't. The only thing I think Alabama can hope for is that Indiana will have some sort of a not letdown, but some sort of a hey, look what happened to Oregon. They had the layoff, undefeated, and they just kind of fell flat, something like that. So I just don't see it though, because Ohio State was a national championship team that played them. Alabama's not. So I don't think this is the perfect situation for Indiana. I'd be surprised that they don't even cover easily. So I think Indiana's the clear play there. And then Ole Miss and Georgia, I'm still gonna, think about that. I said I think Ole Miss before the playoffs began could give them a game, and nothing changed my mind after the way that they blew out Tulane. So that's exactly what you wanted to see. Matter of fact, the only way I would have changed my mind completely would have been if they would have struggled and that kind of thing. They did. They looked just like they would have with Lane Kiffin, and that's what I wanted to see if I was going to take him against Georgia. I'm still not sure if I'm going to do that, even though I still have Ole Miss and Miami as my future, along with Texas Tech. But I still don't know if I'm going to do that or not. And then the other one is Texas Tech and Oregon, which could be the best game. Oregon is the favorite in this one. That's going to be interesting to see about Texas Tech. It really will, because they did not have the schedule. So on one hand, it's like an unknown situation. But I think what Texas Tech has going for them, which is the reason I like them, is the defense. Again, Oregon's got good defensive players too. They've got some studs on that side. But Texas Tech overall is better defensively. But the one thing we just don't know about Texas Tech is whether or not it's because of the conference and their schedule, or hey, they're just a really good defensive team. That's who they were on their schedule. And I look at it that way because remember, and this is something we'll talk about in a few days, every game that Texas Tech won was a blowout. So I think that matters. So, and I expect Texas Tech to show up. I really do. But look, we'll talk about it. More time to go over it all and update everything, including the injuries. We'll see if the lines move at all. I don't expect the lines to move much. But clearly, if I was looking for a long shot out of the group, the one that I've said before, the clear one is Miami. And I think they're about a 280 on the money line. So I would look that way. Ole Miss is the other one because I'm not taking Alabama. So I would definitely consider Ole Miss. I still think at this point I'm probably going to lean Georgia. So as of right now, if I had to make my picks, I'd be going Miami, Georgia, Texas Tech, and Indiana. And that's also with the spread. If I was going to do that, I'd do that all with the spreads too. Because actually Miami is the only – Texas Tech's also a dog. But if I was taking Georgia and Indiana as the favorites, I would also take them to cover the spreads. I think Indiana will probably beat up on Alabama, to tell you the truth. I don't trust Alabama at all. Okay, but we'll talk more about that in a few days. And then I'm going to, again, be back tomorrow. I'm going to try to do this as early as possible, sometime in the afternoon. I would guess 3 o'clock, the latest, something like that. That's not a bad idea. And then the goal is going to be, we're going to go over all the games. And again, we're going to fill you in with everything that you need to know regarding the playoff picture, the tiebreakers, everything that you want to know regarding the NFL. These are all guaranteed tiebreaker notes. This is everything. This isn't speculation. This is the best information that you possibly are looking for. I have everything you want to know about every scenario that takes place in the NFL playoffs, to get to the playoffs, to the buys and the divisions and everything. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Keep an eye on us for Friday at 3 o'clock for the Playbook ATS podcast. That is the only show that we're going to do this week, and possibly also next week with everybody together. And that at least 3 of us. Andy Isco, Mark Lawrence, and I are set for Friday. We're still waiting on Jim Feist to see if he's going to be available. I know he's got a lot of family in town for the holiday. For Christmas, of course, which is just in a couple of hours. And we might be doing the same schedule next week as well, because Jim did his show at the restaurant Tuesday this week. He's going to do it again on Tuesday next week. Again, I'll look to be on Monday and then probably, I guess, nothing on Wednesday with us doing the Playbook ATS podcast, possibly again next Friday as well. And then we start to get into tons of more videos. Matter of fact, this frees me up. This is the last big show for college football for 2025, with 2026 coming next week. But this is it. Any other video we do from college football from now on, it's just going to be, our playoff game stuff. And that's only a few games, NFL stuff, but that's pretty much, breaking down with just a few games as well that matter. So the marathon long football videos are done for the 2025 NFL and college football seasons. And that means that I'm going to be really zeroing in more on NFL draft, NFL free agency. We've got golf starting up in a few weeks. We also are going to be college basketball is going to be hot and heavy in the next week or two. We're going to start with that real soon. So I got more than enough video stuff to get behind. Check out our lads as well, primarily, of course, for updated rankings, for top 10 rankings for every position for players coming out for the draft. They've got all that stuff. You can check that out right now on the website. I'll be talking to Dave. I'll be talking to John real soon, as I mentioned. That's coming up as far as that's concerned. I'm actually going to start also popping up some Jet videos on Prime Sports Network. I'm going to start putting more videos again. I got to get that channel going again because I've been doing everything here at Proline and also partnering with our lads. But I'm going to start to, because I'm not going to talk to Jets here on this channel. I'm not going to do that to Jim and Mark. But I'm going to start doing some more Jet videos because it's the off season coming up. It's going to be a big off season for the team. And I'm just sick and tired of hearing the stuff I've been hearing on YouTube, watching. It's the same old crap. It's the same stupid shit. I know they're getting clicks. I get it. But it's time for someone with reason and experience and an understanding of what the game is about in the long run, and to think of it like if I'm actually part of a front office in the NFL and how they think. It's time for me to get out there and tell these little guys exactly how it's done. Okay? And I'll be doing that on Prime Sports Network real soon. So look out for that if you're a Jet fan. Matter of fact, I think I saw this because it says it right here. Chris, CB, NY Jets fan. There you go. So I think that makes Chris a Jet fan. I appreciate you supporting the channel, Chris. Happy holidays to you. Willie surprisingly wants to go at Alabama over Indiana. Obviously, look, I like your Miami over Ohio State pick, but you scare me now after you took Alabama over Indiana. Now maybe that doesn't look good for my Miami pick now because Alabama beating Indiana, boy, that would be, I think that would be embarrassing to Indiana if that happened. But we'll talk more about Mendoza because that's a big discussion too with everything, with the playoffs, with the Jets, with the draft. Because I'm not a big Mendoza guy compared to what we're hearing. I think he's a fine quarterback. I think he's going to be a good pro quarterback. But there's just going to be a big difference between being an elite number one pick in the draft quarterback compared to being, he's going to be okay. And I'm sorry, but that's I don't want to be associated, or I don't want my team to chase an okay quarterback. I just don't think Mendoza is going to be anything special. I just don't. I think he's I like the comparison, and I'll talk more and more about that. The Jared Goff comparisons, I think, are perfect for Mendoza. And I think when he's being compared to a player like Goff, I think it's important too, because you have to keep in mind, what does that mean? Well, look at Goff's career. It took him, 4 or 5 years to get going. And that's becoming a theme now. More and more, I think the young fan base is starting to understand more and more that this happens. The more that the Sam Darnolds take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Geno took a long time. But the more it takes, and this is reasonable. This isn't like weird. And that's not to say that some of these quarterbacks can't pick it up right away, because they can. But it depends on the situation. And I'm sorry, I just don't, I think if a Mendoza goes to wherever he goes to, probably the Raiders, that's probably where he'd be going. Right now the Raiders and Giants play a big game this week. And boy, I feel sorry for Raider fans if the Raiders win the game, because that they don't want to win the game. And that's when they'll win the game. Because if the Raiders guarantee themselves the number one pick, they will be taking Mendoza. And I am completely fine with that. And look, even if they don't have the first pick, then the question becomes, well, if the Giants have the first pick, well, then they get to trade down a few spots and grab somebody, grab extra draft collateral and all that. That's what I don't want to be a part of. I do not want my team to be a part of giving up extra draft collateral for a quarterback that I do not believe is going to be ready for a few years. I'm just, I don't want to go that route. I'd rather go the route. And look, even Goff, not only did it take him 4 or 5 years, but he needed to be on a very good team with a lot of players around him. And that's not going to be where he's going to land up. So he's going to end up somewhere where it's going to take time to put those players around him, which means that it's going to take him 3, 4, 5 years. And I don't have 5 years. Okay, so I'd rather go the free agent route, or actually not the free agent route, the trade route. I've said this before. I'll keep saying it. I'll probably even put up a video real soon on Prime Sports Network and just, blast out Tanner McKee and just put it all out there, because I've said it long enough on this show, on these shows, that I'm all in on Tanner McKee, and I'm just praying that the Jets do that. Because I will say this: if they don't, and another team does, and he's as good as I think he's going to be, it's just going to make me I'm not going to be in a good place. So anyway, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So check out Prime Sports Network in the future. I'll let you know about that. You can subscribe to that channel whenever you want, of course, but I'll let you know when to subscribe there if you haven't subscribed there before. But as soon as I put out the first video, then we'll have more videos there. But right here, it's all Proline TV, our lads as well, the Our Lads Football Network. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Hopefully about 3:00, we'll be live to talk NFL. And that'll be on Christmas. Yes, it'll be on Christmas. I'll be back on Christmas to talk NFL, get everybody ready for the playoff with the playoff scenarios and all that. And then everybody will be back together on Friday for the Playbook ATS podcast. No horse racing show until late January. So we're regrouping there, but we will be back to talk horse racing in a few weeks. And I want to just say once more, happy, Merry Christmas, everybody out there. We're a couple of hours away from Christmas. It's the only day of the year that my Christmas tree stays lit all night, even though I'm not, going to be waiting to be woken up by Santa, stealing his cookies and his drinking his milk in the kitchen or anything like that. But I hope everybody has a great Christmas tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow on Christmas. That's how diehard I am. And I'll see everybody then. So again, thanks for tuning in. If I don't see you tomorrow, or if I don't see you next time on this video, hopefully everybody has a great Christmas, and I'll be back again real soon to talk to you guys, and we'll see you then. See you next time.